Happy Saturday, everyone. We have had limited coverage on WCNC Charlotte today, at least with our normal shows, right? Because of the President's Cup on NBC. So just wanted to come on Facebook and give you guys another look at the forecast and, of course, talk tropics this morning. So first things first, let's talk local weather. The beautiful start to the day across the area. We definitely saw more clouds compared to the last few mornings. This is as we have a little bit of a low trying to make its way north of our area, but you can see a little bit of that cloud cover moving in and even a few spotty showers for areas up toward the mountains and foothills. But what I do think is interesting about today is that our air is so dry close to the ground. So anything that tries to develop maybe high up in the atmosphere, any kind of rain, would either come out, especially north of I-40, as a little bit of a drizzle this morning, or even some virga, which is the rain that falls from the clouds and then evaporates before it reaches the ground. Just high pressure still remains in control. And that sinking motion of air and dry air will keep us pretty calm and comfortable. So hourly forecast for this afternoon, we'll see a few clouds mixing in here and there, but overall not too shabby. Highs for your Saturday in the mid to upper 70s. We have the upper 70s to lower 80s tomorrow, so it will be a touch warmer. And you can see that small 20% chance of rain in by the second half of the day. So overall, not too bad of a day. You can see a few of those showers as we see that extended future cast showing that front coming through. This is a weak cold front. It essentially just brings a reinforcing shot of some cooler air and some drier air as we head toward Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But of course, it is going to also bring us that small, tiny bit of rain possible as we head throughout the day there on Sunday. So overall, great weekend forecast for you. Rip current outlook for the Carolina beaches. We will see moderate to high rip currents this weekend. So if you do have plans maybe to head toward the coast, just a heads up on that. Part of the reason why is still some of those outer swells from Fiona, but we still just got to monitor that threat, of course, heading toward the next few days. So kind of an overall view of our weekend forecast. And that brings me to a big topic right on social media, the tropics. So first things first, I want everyone to just be aware that there's a lot of uncertainty with the eventual forecast track of Ian. That's the brand new tropical storm that we're watching for a potential impact to Florida next week. There have been plenty of times where a situation like this has started to unfold and, the track has shifted, things like that. I mean, we saw it even in 2020 with storms like Sally, Laura, Delta. So at this point, it's something we're monitoring, of course, not even just here locally, but of course across the whole country. If you have friends and family in Florida or really even any of the Gulf states, I hope they are preparing, not panicking, and just kind of having that hurricane plan in place, which is pretty much the most important thing this time of year. I say this a lot, and I think today is a good example of that. The storm's a good example of that. Hurricane season not over. We've been pretty quiet so far this season, but it's not over. We have till the end of November, and it's definitely not rare to see these storms develop in September and even into October. So let's talk about what's going on. So the latest forecast track from Tropical Storm Ian has seen a very slight shift toward the west. That has been a trend so far this morning with models too. I paused this here to show you Tuesday morning at 2 a.m. as a Category 2 hurricane. This is the latest National Hurricane Center forecast track. The NHC at this point has the potential for, of course, on Tuesday morning, for the storm to be moving over Cuba. Now, Cuba, just like other islands in the Caribbean, anytime you move over land, storms can get ripped apart. So we're going to have to watch any kind of potential that maybe that movement over land has. So we're just keeping a close eye on that. Derek, thanks for sending us that update on the app. Definitely we'll have our team look into that. Thank you for letting us know. So Tuesday morning, of course, potential moving over Cuba, and then eventually you'll see the forecast track expand even further outward as it could re-strengthen into a Category 3 hurricane, major hurricane, and then you can see the landfall, at least at this point. National Hurricane Center has the center anywhere from Miami all the way up toward the Panhandle. But I do want to remind everyone too that a hurricane's not a center, right? Effects can often be felt very far outside of the center part of the circulation. And essentially the NHC's forecast cone means that they expect the center to be anywhere between this red shading here. And if it's a big storm, Many of us remember Irma back in 2017. It essentially encompassed the entire state of Florida. Of course, the effects can be felt even further from that center, or if it's a little compact, tiny storm like Hurricane Charlie back in 2004, obviously the impacts are often a little bit more limited. So we just need to watch the storm. Uh, Brad always says that ready, set, go plan, right? And if you are anywhere from Florida all the way toward the eastern seaboard, including the Gulf states, we definitely are in that ready time frame, right? We have our hurricane plans in place just in case, especially if you live along the coast. So that's the latest forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. Taking a look at the model tracks, I showed these on WCNC Charlotte earlier this morning. Again, they have seen a very small westward shift so far this morning. That doesn't necessarily mean that that shift will continue. We'll watch it closely, but you can see pretty much models have anywhere from New Orleans all the way toward out to sea in the western part of the Atlantic Ocean. So there's still a lot of uncertainty on what will eventually happen. And one of the reasons why, we have this uncertainty, right, is anytime you are trying to forecast where a hurricane can go, there's a ton of factors in place. And until these high pressure systems, low pressure systems, cold fronts, things of that nature start to form, you don't yet have a good idea, right, of where the storm will go. So what's expected to happen as we head toward the middle part of next week is that this Bermuda high pressure system, that's the one over the western part of the Atlantic, is expected to break down a little bit. One of the reasons why is this secondary cold front that we have coming in on Sunday. That's going to kind of bring that reinforcing shot of cool air. That creates a break in the high pressure system, the one that's off on the right hand portion of your screen and the one that's developing on the left hand portion of your screen. So essentially the highs are going to drive the storm west to northwest and eventually taking that northerly track. Now we have this trough of low pressure that tries to develop across the center part of the country and eventually toward the eastern seaboard by Wednesday, Thursday. And if this trough, how low it dips, how strong it is, things of that nature, could prevent that westward turn and could keep it out to sea. If it's a little bit weaker, it could push the storm eventually more so eastward if the high takes over. So this is kind of all the different upper level patterns and things like that, these steering currents that we have to watch. Storms, hurricanes, tropical storms won't move on their own, right? They need something to pick them up and push them somewhere, which is oftentimes when we have a weak steering current situation like we have right now in the central part of the Atlantic. Oftentimes these storms just kind of sit there and hang out. At this point, that does not look likely. I think that the most likely scenario of these three right now is probably more of the coastal track, the one shaded in yellow, impacts along the coast, little to none west. If I had to assign a number to it right now, and I mean, we still have about 5 to 7 days to watch it, I would say I'd give that one like a 40% chance. The westward track, which would be a higher impact for us, especially toward the mountains and foothills, that's the flooding, tornadoes, winds, high impact situation, the one shading in red, I'd give that about a 30%. And I still think that there's a good chance, right, that it could stay out to sea because have very little to no impacts. So it's almost a third, a third, a third, but I'm right now trending a little bit higher for the yellow one. So I'd say 30, 40, 30 if I had to assign a number to it on these different impact scenarios. So again, it's something that we're watching here at WCNC Charlotte. We're keeping a close eye on things, and we will continue to monitor the system over the next few days. So again, if you live along the Gulf Coast, you live in the state of Florida, you live on the eastern seaboard, and if you've ever been impacted by a tropical storm or a hurricane, it's just that time to have a plan in place, know where you would go if you needed to, know your risk. Are you in a floodplain? Have you experienced flooding before? Do you live in the mountains and foothills and that higher terrain causes a higher risk of flash flooding? You have to kind of get those things out of the way now and make sure you know what they are. Elsewhere in the tropics, we have a lot of other storms going on. Canada did see a landfalling hurricane. It's now a post-tropical system. This is Fiona storm we've been talking about a lot. You can see that the clouds from this storm expand all the way still into Maine. So this was a big, big storm for them. I wouldn't say it was rare that this area was impacted, but they definitely don't see hurricanes or post-tropical cyclones this strong every single day. Still has winds of about 85 miles an hour, which still makes it a Category 1 hurricane strength. Elsewhere, we have Tropical Storm Gaston. This formed a few days ago. As of the 8 a.m. advisory, you can see the storm still chilling out there in the Atlantic. This is one of the ones that was impacted by those weak steering currents. It's kind of just sat there and hung out. You can see it has kind of a weird track there toward the west and eventually the southwest. No matter what happens, with Ian's eventual track, the storm that we're watching to potentially go toward Florida, it does look like it would keep Gaston out to sea just based on this really strong ridge of high pressure we still have nearby. Um, Another system, and I know these get hard to track, but it's one of the reasons why, right? They started naming them. This is Tropical Storm Hermine. Hermine, so her as in her, and then mean as in you're being mean to me. That's kind of how you pronounce this one. This formed yesterday, just off the coast of Africa. Very little impact to land at all, if not if any impact at all. I would say between Gaston and Hermine, and eventually this last little tropical wave I'm going to show you, these will be ones that we'll keep an eye on the leftover energy from these over the next few days, just to confirm, right, that re-strengthening couldn't be possible, but right now looks unlikely with any of these systems. This is a tropical wave that just formed a few days ago off the coast of Africa. If you look toward the right hand portion of your screen, you can actually see Hermine, that little satellite imagery there, but this is very weak. It's going into an area with unfavorable conditions, so the National Hurricane Center is giving it a very low chance of development at this time. So hopefully this kind of gave you a better idea, right, of what's going on in the tropics, how it could potentially impact our weather as we go toward next week. So I'm going to show you the 7-day forecast. And of course, we'll be talking a lot about this here over the next few days. But today, absolutely beautiful weather. App stayed at home. Up in Boone, we have President's Cup going on in South Charlotte. Tomorrow, the Panthers back at home again at Bank of America Stadium. Again, the President's Cup last day of play for those folks. Beautiful weather this weekend. Even with the stray shower potential tomorrow, it is still going to look nice. Then we know that reinforcing shot of cooler air comes in from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You can see those cooler temperatures in the morning, even daytime highs in the 70s. Now, Thursday and Friday, obviously we have to give you the 7-day forecast, the 10-day forecast, right? But I would say that Friday, especially and into the weekend, still a bit of a question mark. What eventually happens with our local weather is going to be determinant a lot on what happens with eventual Ian. Of course, it's a tropical storm now. We're expecting a hurricane, and we talked a lot in this web broadcast here about what could eventually happen with the storm. A lot of our after but midweek forecast will determine where that storm eventually goes. So you can trust the WCNC Charlotte weather team is keeping a close, really eagle eye on this system here over the next few days. So that's kind of an overall view of President's Cup forecast for this weekend. What's going on in the tropics. Hopefully you guys all followed this. If you have any questions about what's going on, any questions about what we're looking at, what we think could happen, things of that nature, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're always here, right, working for you, trying to provide not just the weather forecast when it's a great weekend, but also looking ahead to these bigger stories. So have a safe and happy Saturday and Sunday. The weather, of course, looking great, and we'll have much more coverage on the tropics and things of that nature coming up throughout the week. I do want to just give you guys, before I go, a quick little programming note. Of course, I mentioned, right, that we were only on from 7 a.m. today because of the President's Cup, and we had children's programming at 6. Tomorrow we have children's programming again at 6 a.m. So Wake Up Charlotte Weekend won't be on at its normal time at 6. We will be on as normal at 7. We will break that for that hour for the Today Show from 8 to 9 like normal. And then we will have our 9 a.m. newscast until 10 before the President's Cup coverage will take over on NBC. So if you want to catch our local forecast, local weather, you can catch Brianna Harper and I on from 7 to 8 and then again from 9 to 10. So hopefully you enjoy your Saturday, and I hope to see you on TV or on Roku, Amazon Prime, all those good things with the streaming services that we provide at, again, 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. tomorrow. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And stay safe out there.